today on Light of the Word with Pastor Ray.
But I put it on a paper and I save those papers because I believe God's going to speak to me about who He is, who I am, what He wants me to do, what I can boldly ask of Him, and then what I need to be on guard. And sometimes I need to go back to those papers and go, wow, this is going on 2 years, whatever it may be. Or 6 weeks ago, this really seemed to cost me something, because grace is costly at times. I can go back to that journal and go, you spoke to me. Then when you go back and read your journal, you also go, wow, you spoke to me. That's amazing. I asked for this, and now it's come to pass. It's amazing.
Open your heart to us, Lord, so we can know your word. We come before you, Jesus. Speak to our hearts as we discover your love for us. How wide, how deep, how far. Pour into us so we can learn to follow. One surrender at a time. You have made the way for us to know you, a path that's straight and right. By the light of the word.
Pastor Ray just shared a personal discipline that we should all pay careful attention to: prayer journaling. Take a moment to reflect on your typical day. You wake up, hopefully spend some time with Jesus, get ready for work, go to work, come home, eat dinner, watch some TV, and go to sleep. Rinse and repeat. Our days can blur together. It's easy to forget the good things that God is doing. This is why a prayer journal is a wise decision. This is a discipline that causes you to focus on how God answers your prayers. This will increase your faith. Well, let's join Pastor Ray in the book of Genesis chapter 8 for today's edition of Light of the Word.
Maybe you don't have a father on earth. Or maybe your father on earth wasn't the greatest father or mother on earth. I got a Father in heaven who invites me and says, I never stop thinking of you. My thoughts towards you outnumber the grains of sand and stars in the sky. Oh, my Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And I just sit there. We sang the song, Holy, Holy. You're uncommon. And I sit there and go, I got an uncommon God. He's the one and only God, and I got an uncommon God who thinks about me. And then you can go through the rest of it. Give us this day our daily bread. Oh, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive others. Boy, you want to choke out a prayer time. Hold grudges. You sit there, forgive me of my sin. Oh, if you forgive me of my sin, how can I not forgive them? And that will resolve some tension in the home real quick. Deliver us from the evil one. And there's this place that I always have to come to. What do I need to be on guard about? Because there's a devil that's always waiting to jump me through the day, jump me when I come in here. We call it scripture-fed, spirit-led, worship-based prayer. But I put it on a paper and I save those papers because I believe God's going to speak to me about who He is, who I am, what He wants me to do, what I can boldly ask of Him, and then what I need to be on guard. And sometimes I need to go back to those papers and go, wow, this is going on 2 years. Whatever it may be. Or 6 weeks ago, this really seemed to cost me something, because grace is costly at times. I can go back to that journal and go, you spoke to me. Then when you go back and read your journal, you also go, wow, you spoke to me. That's amazing. I asked for this, and now it's come to pass. It's amazing. He never forgot Noah. He's an unchanging God. He speaks to us. He invites us. And now we come to the ark rest. And I just can never say anything about rest without somehow my heart just immediately goes, and I can rest. As I read through and I see that God rested after creation. As I see through Jesus went to the cross, died for my sin and said, it's finished. As I read through the book of Hebrews, it's all about coming into a rest. And I can just simply come here and go, God rested, I can rest, and I can just rest in Him. And so we come here and He's going to speak to us, the ark rest, and it sends a message for us. The fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were also stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. Verse 3, and the waters receded continually from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the waters decreased. Then Verse 4, the ark rested in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month on the mountains of Ararat. So it is mountains plural, so that does make it broad. Ararat's in Turkey, and we can go, well, this is where the ark rested. The ark's there. That's a fact. This is an absolute when we think about these things. Lots of people feel that if we can go and find the ark, we'll prove the Bible. First thing I just go, I do not need an ark to convince me that this Bible is true. Because no ark is going to change what God has changed and only what God could do. And I look back at what God did 33 years ago and what God continually does. Not just that he could change me in the moment, that he can keep me and sustain me, and I don't come back to the man that I once was. Thank God that I'm still not the man that I fully want to be, but I know God's not done. He who began a good work is faithful to complete it. I don't need an ark to prove to me that this Bible's true, and I don't think the ark will prove to anybody that the Bible's true. Now, I think Turkey's afraid that the ark could prove the Bible's true, and then they would go, if the Genesis is true, then Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is true. That changes everything about Jerusalem. It changes everything about the descendants and all these type of things. And it's interesting as we watch Syria today and Turkey and Iran and these players. We'll talk about that in our prophecy update. But Turkey doesn't want to let anybody up there to go see. Let's do some expeditions. Now, this is a mount in Ararat. I'm not going conspiracy. I'm just going to throw something out there for your interest. Again, I'm just telling you, it doesn't matter to me, and I don't need to be conclusively. But Freedom of Information Act, now it's been released dozens of years ago, several years ago. It's called the Ararat Anomaly, and you can go Google it today, and it will take you to this. The Ararat Anomaly, they don't want to call it Noah's Ark, but these pictures, Freedom of Information, actually released by CIA. Central Intelligence Agency. They just go, we just call it an anomaly. That's all we call it. Because they don't want to get involved if it's Noah's Ark or not. And you can go, okay, yeah, what's that all about? And you can see up on the peak, it's kind of dark. Then you can come into a little more. This is what it looks like. And there's that length. And they go, it's an anomaly. It's not rock formation. It's just some anomaly. We don't know fully what it is. That picture you saw was 1949, and they didn't release these are grainy pictures. They don't release the full photos because one of the things is they don't want our enemies to know how great our resolution is in our satellite technology. So there's even better pictures that won't be released because that's classified information of how much we can zoom in to these things. Here is another picture that was taken 2002, and it's taken by this group here, and it looks like I cut my picture off, but it's a satellite company who sells satellite images. Say you want to buy a satellite image of your homestead in West Virginia or something, you can do that. Or, hey, I'd like to see satellite. Well, this is one of their things. And again, my original picture, I let PowerPoint convince me to blow it up. And it actually, on their website, it's called the Ararat Anomaly. I'm just saying it's interesting. But again, I will say, it doesn't matter to me. I don't need to find Noah's Ark to convince me of anything because I believe that the Bible has convinced me more than anything, and it's immovable. But there is something that makes me think about what we're looking at. God is very clear. The ark rested 7th month, 17th day of the month on the mountains of Ararat. That's very specific, and this fascinates me. This is totally, it's more fascinating than the pictures and the Ararat anomaly and these type of things. And the first thing I want to say about this, because the two tie together, God's not silent with Noah. He's not silent with us. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. But I do believe that there was probably a silence and the heartbreak of a heartbreaking God. We read in Revelation chapter 8, when he opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven for about a half an hour. And as we studied Revelation, and I look at Revelation to help me consider what this flood account, tribulation upon the earth, and then as I read Revelation, the tribulation upon the earth, I look at how God did the flood account, and I use those two of he's the same God yesterday, today, and forever. And there's this place that before God, that seventh seal, like we're come to the culmination of this. There is no turning back. It's the finality of all of it. Oh, I prayed that men would repent, but they wouldn't in this tribulation that we read in the book of Revelation. And there was silence in heaven for 30 minutes. Silence is deafening. If we tried to sit here for 30 minutes, all of us would just be like, the impact of silence would go deeper and deeper and deeper. Sometimes silence is necessary, by the way. Before God will judge in the tribulation period, here's what we know of the unchanging God, Malachi 6, who changes not. 13:8, I'm the same God yesterday. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. 2 Peter 3:9, the Lord is not slack concerning his promises, as some count slackness, but a long suffering towards us, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. Ezekiel 33:11, say to them, as I live, says the Lord, I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but that the wicked turn from his ways and live. Turn from your evil ways, for why should you die, O house of Israel, and anyone else? I believe before this door shut, last week's message, there's just this again, silence, the heartbreaking of a heartbroken God that it's come to this. 120 years of a preacher of righteousness. 120 years of pounding that would resonate and carry over the mountains or the valleys and the hills that people, what is this guy doing? And then a 7-day parade, as we talked about, for 7 days. Noah's on the ark. God brings 2 by 2. And there's this parade that probably started months and years. Who knows how long it took for the snails, right? And 2 by 2, they're coming. And all the world would have to go, wow, you don't see that every day. Here's 2 giraffes. Here's 2 rhinoceros. There's 2 chipmunks. And God just keeps sending this message and this message. Everything he preached is coming to before you. And how God's heart must broke. And we spoke about it last week. When you do the math and the cubic footage of this ark, maybe 500 boxcar size, 100 plus to put in the animals when you do that type of sizing. Double, triple it, and put on some food and water. Point being made is there was enough room for anyone who wanted to come. Did Noah actually make apartments? You know where I'm going with it, the pondering. And how God's heart must broke as he calls these animals and not one person. And I think about it. I bet you, because we live it, I bet you there's people who go, 2 by 2. He said this. God was, these type of things, I'm going to consider this. Not today. I got things to do today, tomorrow. Day 2, he said this. I should really think about this, but not today because I got softball tonight. Day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6. Tomorrow I'm going to think about this. Day 7. And were there those day 7? Tomorrow I'm going out. But on day 7, the door shuts. And I just believe there's a heartbroken God, just like we see in Revelation, that it's come to this. I've offered it to the whole world and only these 8 get on. But here's something amazing, absolutely amazing. The ark rested in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month, on the mountain of Ararat. You got to do some reverse math analysis, going to the Jewish calendar of what this 7th month, 17th day is, because you have to reverse it to get to, in Exodus 12, is after this account, all right? Going in the chronological order. In Exodus 12, leaving Egypt, now the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be your beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. So he's saying this first Passover, reset the calendar. From this day forward, this month is now the first month. And they were in a certain month. And here's the bottom line up front. When you take what it is now and go back through the Jewish writings and these type of things, the month that is now Nisan in Exodus 12, the first Passover, picture of Jesus Christ, the Lamb of God who would be slain from the foundation of the world, the first Passover, when you take that first month before it was changed to the new month, guess what month it is? It is the 7th month and the 17th day. Now follow this through. So it's the same month that this ark is. Now, the first month, change the month. Verse 3, Exodus 12. Speak to all the congregation of Israel, saying, on the 10th day this month, every man shall take for himself a lamb according to the house of his father, a lamb for the household. And if the household is too small for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next to his house take it according to the number of persons, according to each man's need, and you shall make your count for the lamb. Verse 5, your lamb shall be without spot and blemish, a male of the first year. You may take it from the sheep or from the goats. Verse 6, now you shall keep it until the 14th day of the month. Then the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it at twilight. Fascination about the whole thing as I look at these things and speak about the rest that's going to come is the 10th of Nisan is the Sunday that Jesus rides into Jerusalem and is heralded the Messiah. You were to bring the lamb into your home and it was to become personal. They didn't just go and grab a sheep. They brought this lamb into their house, and for 4 days they would become attached to it, just like we do with our cute puppies and kittens and these type of things. Then exactly at twilight on the 14th of Nisan, the lambs would be slaughtered. Jesus Christ dies. When you piece it all the way through, and it's a whole study in itself, Jesus Christ is crucified on the 14th of Nisan. Then 3 days later, Jesus Christ rise from the dead. It's called the Feast of First Fruits. 14 plus 3 is 17. Jesus Christ rose from the dead, overcoming the flood of the judgment of sin on the 17th of Nisan, which when you reset the calendar is the exact day, some 3,500 years prior, that the ark rested. God's making a point. You come on the ark of Jesus Christ. The whole ark's a picture of salvation. Come on the ark and you shall be saved and you can rest. And Jesus is the first fruit who overcame death. And from then on, every one of us who dies are a surety that we will walk in to heaven risen just as Jesus died and rose again. These are amazing things as we look at these things. And I see a God whose heart is broken. He's brooding, just like in Revelation 8. And here he is broken-hearted, but he's still going to speak and say, but for anyone that comes on the ark, I'm doing something new. It's a new beginning. Salvation will be secured. Just get on the ark. And that's a promise for each and every one of us as this world that we live in to escape the judgment of sin. Well, verse 5, I call it land ho. He finally, that's the depths of my nautical knowledge. I could never be on the ark because whatever a port and starboard and stern and all those type of things, I'd constantly be confused. Verse 5, land ho, and the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. So now we're going on a few more months that ark rest. 3 months later here, in the 10th month, on the first day of the month, the tops of the mountain were seen. Imagine. So what we're reading here, and this is going to play in as we study through, is for Noah to see, that would have meant he would have had to have been peeking out. So we're going to read that he opens the window to let the animals in and out, but he obviously is looking through some portal or something that he can see land ho. Wow. But here's the thing. There's land. You would think it's over, right? Verse 6 says 40 more days. Ever been there? It's over. And then 40 more days. So it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark, which he made. I think about this as we'll read through. He peeks through, and then he's going to open the window. Then we're going to read before we finish. He's going to take the covering off, and then God's going to say before we finish, go ahead, get off. What would you feel? What would you be thinking the first time it rained again? It'd be hard I'd be like, open window, shut it. Open window, shut it. You got to think about this, what it is, and we'll walk that through. But it's going to rain again. And you know what, Christian? Maybe you've been through, maybe you've recovered, maybe you're moving on from a flood of life that was really hard. It's going to rain again. It's the world that we live in. The world has changed because of sin. But God's going to be in the next rain with Noah as sure as he is in this rain that he first went through. It's going to rain again, and we'll walk that through. But I'll tell you, I share a story with you in that in 40 days, hey, land ho, ark's rested, land ho, let's get off of this boat. In 40 days, he's still there because God's still working, God's still doing something. And you know, these are, I think I know I shared this some time ago, a long time ago, but it's one of those things I go, can we skip this one? God's like, no. I'll tell you my 40-day story because I think it'll apply to somebody. I think it'll apply to everybody. But I told you last week, left the Space Center. God called me, gave me a calling, went to Bible college, finished Bible college. What's next, Lord? Go back to the East Coast. West Coast is filled with enough Bible teachers. Go to the East Coast, start something new, somewhere no one's ever heard of Chuck Smith. And okay, and I come back to the East Coast and waiting for God to do something. And it's like, what do you want me to do? And he's like, get a job. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I didn't think about that. So I'll get a job. I got to find a job. Then you know, that's the provision, and start a Bible study. And I told you last week, I'm about a couple weeks into it, nothing's moving, no job, no ministry, things just aren't happening for me. And then it just hit me, 40 days. 40, number trial, purifying, testing. You're testing me, you're purifying me. I love this. I will even say it almost felt prideful. 40 days, I can do this all day. I'll even enjoy 40 days. I don't even have to worry about looking for a job now. I can just rest, go for walks, enjoy. Well, 40 days comes and goes, and then I'll say, I'm like, hey, 40 days is over. And that's why I call this 40 more days. Hey, 40 days is over. That 40 turned into 60, 80, 220, 260. Before it was all over, I think it was 2 years before I actually had a full-time job again. But for 9 months, 0. I keep that stack of job rejections on my bookshelf at my desk so that I see it continually. God's great provision, but also God's great control.
You have made the way for us to know you, a path that's straight and right. By the light of the world.
Today's edition of Light Up the Word has been in Genesis. Have you noticed the recurring themes mentioned in this opening book of the Bible? Pastor Ray's walking us through each situation and event, but what about the fact that it often seems like there are two brothers who are at odds? One is looked on favorably by God, and the other doesn't feel like he has God's blessing, so he takes matters into his own hands. This occurs with Cain and Abel, Jacob and Esau, Joseph and his brothers. There's something about the sin nature that seeks to gain acclaim one way or another. But if it's not what God has in mind, it leads to all kinds of heartache and destruction. So what's the lesson that we could learn from these stories that seem to repeat? God has His ways and reasons for doing what He does. But we could rest in the fact that perhaps what God's communicating is that it's not the firstborn lineage that matters, but it's that spiritual birth that comes later, through knowing Him, that really matters. That is what God can bless, and He desires to see your heart for Him grow and flourish. If that concept causes you to pause and think for a little bit, that's okay. While you're doing that, head over to lightoftheword.info. There you'll find lots of resources. This has been Light of the Word, illuminating the heart of God.
You have made